This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn, his sidekick, John Dinalo, and it is Tuesday, and we're here really on a Tuesday. How do you like that?
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's good for me. That's right. I didn't have to change my alarm clock to wake up at 3:28.
All things are right in the world right now because we're on Tuesday
All
at
things are
3:30.
right in the world. That's my new philosophy. That's a great way to start the show, John Dinalo. Hey everybody, it's me, Paul Seaburn, your host of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That is our motto, and that's what we try to bring to you every week, hopefully on Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for less than a week now. And then we go to daylight time, daylight saving time. Can you believe it? Daylight saving time already. It's not even the middle of March yet.
I love it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Darren is a fan of that. That's right. I recall that now. That's right.
So now let's identify those voices in your ear, or if you're watching us on YouTube. The first one was Karen Hale, who is our producer, our co-host, and the media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our platform. Karen has some great podcasts besides What in the World on her platform. Again, newclevelandradio.net. So go visit there, find out how to download us from Spotify and Apple and all those great places. Locate us on YouTube if you want to watch us, which we highly recommend because many of the stories that we'll be talking about today, I'll have photos to go along with them. And we do a good job of describing them. But once in a while, I bet you would say, oh, man, I wish I could see that four-headed, three-legged thing that they were talking about. Well, you can. Just go to YouTube.
That's right.
That's right, Paul. That is very right.
There you go. And that other voice in your other ear is none other than John Dinalo, my old friend, another co-host and host of his own segment, What in the World of Sports with John Dinalo. John always brings us a great sport, and he's got another a super unusual one today. So let's see. We need to do a shout out to the Panther City lacrosse team. Keep hang in there, guys. Just keep playing away. You're gonna move up in the standing. That's
absolutely
motivation for them. Also, if you guys are lacrosse fans, I mean, I knew about lacrosse, but now that I've started watching the games, it's really an interesting sport, and it's so more interesting than golf and bowling. Let's put it that way. So if you're looking for an alternative, how about that? Try in Panther City. They're on the major networks. They're occasionally on one of the big three or big five or whatever they are. So check them out. Check out men's lacrosse. Who else we need to give a shout out to? John. Oh, John's wearing an interesting hat today, a Gettysburg hat. And is there a team in Gettysburg? Is there
Yes, there is, Paul and Karen, an audience. Turns out there is a college in Gettysburg. It's Gettysburg College, and they have athletic teams. It's a smaller school, and their baseball team is the Gettysburg College Bullets. They are the
Bullets.
Appropriate name.
Name, exactly. So, but we decided to give, or I should say, decided to give some props to them. Baseball season is in full swing in the southern states in colleges. A lot of college sports teams play 50 games a year, 60 games a year. In Pennsylvania, it's hard to do that right now because it's in March and it's typically cold. But again, they're going to have hopefully a very successful season, and we're going to just keep an eye on them as we keep an eye on some of the other sports teams that we watch. So
there we go. That's right. That's right. Yeah, we love our sports at What in the World. But first, we love our weird news, and we've got some great weird news for you this week. We've got from Cleveland, Ohio, as a matter of fact, we've got strange things you'll see on the freeway in Cleveland, Ohio, right up front. So we'll stay tuned for that. People with unusually large body parts. That's a regular segment on our show. We've got one today. The best job in London. if you're looking for work and you're in England. The man who would be the king of burgers is in the news this week. We'll be talking about him. Close Encounters of the Tattoo Kind. You know, we love our tattoos, tattoo stories. I got another great tattoo story. And John, a couple of Bigfoot stories for you, including one from a man who was attacked by a Bigfoot. So
Really?
very
I'm looking forward to hearing about that, Paul and Karen.
sure. Yeah, maybe we'll get some defensive maneuvers to use if you're ever in confrontation with the Bigfoot. So let's get right to it with our story from Cleveland, Ohio. Let's see. While I'm talking about this, let's see if I can get my photo up here. There we go. Oh, that's not it yet. That's a teaser. So this comes from Interstate 90, which is a freeway that goes through it's pretty much on the northern border of Cleveland, Ohio, between Cleveland and Lake Erie. So if you want to get east or west, you take I-90. Over the weekend, believe it or not, traffic came to a standstill on that busy freeway because two horses were seen running down the freeway against traffic. Now, if you, I couldn't believe it. Here's a photo of them right here. There you go.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. These are there was heavy traffic. You know, there's always heavy traffic on I-90. Those are two big horses, and they're going right down the street. The traffic's going in one direction. They're going in the opposite direction. They don't care. It looks like people are pulling off to the side. The really amazing thing about this is less than a minute after this photo was taken, people were already wagering on which horse would win the race. Online betting is more important than anything else around. So they were eventually corralled by a police cruiser, which happened to be following them. You'll find out why. And what the cruiser did was kind of guided them to the side of the road, to the berm, as they call it, and then onto a side street where they were finally captured. One of the horses was actually ticketed for using its cell phone while it was running down the street. So even not allowed to do that. Now, why was it not unusual that the police were following these horses? Well, Cleveland Police Sergeant Wilfredo Diaz did a press conference, and he said the horses were part of the department's mounted division, and they had inadvertently strayed during routine care and exercise. So they escaped from the cops.
Wow.
Yeah, if you're a Clevelander, you know that we do have a big mounted police force, a reasonably sized one, and their corrals are very near this freeway. Inadvertently strayed. That's what I love that description. It sounds like the one of these horses had a girlfriend and he was sneaking out to go visit her, or maybe that's what this was. It was a male and a female, and they were sneaking out to find a place to do something. Watching them. So that from Cleveland, Ohio, horses running down the wrong way down Interstate 90 over the weekend. You never know what you're going to see in Cleveland or in Portland, Oregon, which is where we go to next. Portland resident Jenny Duvander is the lady's name. She now holds the Guinness World Record for the largest tongue circumference for a female, when her tongue was measured at 5.21 inches around. And for those of you who would like to see her, I just put up a photo of her. Her tongue is they compared it to a can of soda. That it's not as wide as a can of soda, but it would be as tall if when they used the string to measure it. That's how tall it was. So it's really big. It looks like bigger than a kielbasa, I would say. John, would you?
Very unusual. That's very unusual, Paul and Karen.
Yes,
I wouldn't say that the photo is kinky, but it's definitely unusual. So she also now holds a medical record for breaking the most wooden tongue depressors. Because there's no room in her mouth for anything besides her tongue. Now, I have friends, not John, but I have other friends who would pay this lady a sizable amount of money to watch her go to Dairy Queen and lick an ice cream cone with that tongue.
Thanks for the disclaimer, Paul. I appreciate that. Thank you.
John, on the other hand, John would look at this and say, she looks like she'd make a great backup singer for Kiss.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
Yeah,
Sure,
that tongue?
Yeah.
So-
Her tongue is large enough to do that. That's right. That's for sure.
5.2 inches, almost a half a foot around. To measure her tongue, she says that a doctor wrapped dental floss around it and then measured the length of the floss. Which, believe it or not, that's an old ethnic expression. Well, wrap my tongue in dental floss and call me a fishing pole. My grandmother used to say
Learn something new every day on What in the World.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. That's the reason why you tune into What in the World. Now, for those of you who are concerned about her ability to eat or even breathe with this giant thing in her mouth, that's not the way it is normally. What she does, she knows how, somehow she figured out a way to expand her tongue to make it bigger than it is normal. When she reduces the pressure or whatever it is she does, it goes back to looking like a normal tongue. I don't know how she does it. I don't know how you would do that and how you would strengthen your tongue to flex bigger than anybody else. I mean, you lift weights with it,
Weird.
put stuff in your glass before you don't even, no one even lifts, you don't lift things with your tongue. It baffled me, absolutely baffled me. So she says that her tongue is pure muscle and very agile, and she can flip her tongue upside down and touch her tongue to her nose. So it's muscular, it's agile. She can flip it upside down and she can stick it all the way out to touch her nose. That should be in her dating profile online if she's single.
I don't think she'd get too many dates.
No, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Karen. Also, if that's not enough, her tongue comes in handy for her hobby. She says, I also play the flute, and a strong tongue is pretty useful for playing fast notes. Now, my favorite flute band was Jethro Tull. John, you probably remember a few Jethro Tull songs.
I remember Jethro Tull very well, Paul. And I actually was a big fan of Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson, and they were a good band for a long time. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So John mentioned the name of the flautist and lead singer, Ian Anderson. His tongue must have been thick as a brick if the way he played.
Oh, do you have the horn?
Yeah, that's for all the Jethro Tull fans out there. I'm not going to explain it to everybody else. So believe it or not, I had a little bit of Jethro Tull trivia here because I was also a big fan of the band. Ian Anderson has abandoned. So how did I always wondered why on earth they were the only band that had a flute player in it? So what it turns out, Ian Anderson wanted to play the electric guitar, and he bought he was given an acoustic guitar, then he bought an electric guitar, and he lived in England, and he realized there was no way he would ever be as good as Eric Clapton or any of the other great electric guitarists. So he thought, what else can I play? And he sold his electric guitar. He takes it to a music store, and he says, "What can I get for this?" And the music store owner, this is not a lie, said, "Well, I'll give you this flute." So he took the flute, and the rest is history. It's musical history. Jethro Tull, I believe, should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame myself.
I agree with you, Paul. They're a great band, and I didn't know the origin of the flute came along until you just explained that too. So another interesting point here on What in the World. Wow.
The other trivia item that everybody wants to know about with the band is how they got the name Jethro Tull. So, according to Ian Anderson, the band wasn't very good. So they would play someplace, and they were so bad that the owners would not let them come back. So they kept changing their name so that they could continue to play at places by fooling them. So some of the names were Navy Blue, Ian Anderson's Bag of Nails, and Candy Colored Rain. So one day, their manager gave them the name Jethro Tull and said, "Here, try this one." So that particular day they had a good gig, and the manager invited them back. Said, "Hey, that Jethro Tull, they're pretty good. Bring them back in another couple of weeks." So now they're stuck with the name Jethro Tull. And Ian Anderson finds out who's Jethro Tull. He finds out that Jethro Tull was a man in the 18th century who invented the horse-drawn seed drill, which is a farm implement for planting seed. So he said, had he known that that's who it was, he would have changed the name again to something else, but he was stuck with it.
Wow.
And the rest is history. Most people think that Jethro Tull is actually the flute player for the band. Not John, of course. John knew that.
That is
It was.
I know that.
That's right.
Right.
So once in a while, I have a sports story before we get to John. So here's one that I happen to put on Facebook this week. And this is an oxymoron. They call it the hot winter sport in Vermont. It was just held. It's the annual Lake, and let's see if I can pronounce this correctly, Lake Memphremagog Winter Swim Festival, held in late February, where people come from around the world to swim 25 laps in a pool that's actually a segment of the ice, where a segment of the ice is removed from the lake, and they swim in the frigid waters of the lake, estimated to be 30 degrees, so just barely below freezing. They say that it's slushy. That's how cold it is. 25-meter lap pool that they cut out of the ice. It's so cold that many people suffer from shrinkage while they're filling out the application. So I can imagine how bad it is once they jump into that water.
Wow.
They don't even let them wear blue swimsuits because it looks like they're naked by the time they get out.
Some tough stuff there. Some tough stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Lake Memphremagog. It's only competed there. It's a lake that's on the border, the Canadian-U.S. border, mostly in Quebec, a little bit in Vermont. So they share the lake. And so, but since it's mostly in Canada, when they pull you out of the water, they say, "Cold enough for you, eh?" So that's how you know. That's how you know you're in Canada. And then you're shivering over there, and they give you a beer to warm up. So
there you go.
Only in Canada do they do that. So Memphremagog is a Native American name, which means let's see if we can get the white people to jump in the frigid water.
Wow.
Now, I'm not sure what it means, but they have a monster. You know, we always talk about this. Every lake, every river around the world has its own monster. And here's a picture of the monster in that particular lake. This monster is called Memphrey, Memfre, Phre, Memphrey. Lives in Lake Memphremagog, survives all winter long. This must be summer here, the 1 week of summer that they have, because there's no ice on the water. So it's actually floating. You can see it looks kind of like a log, just like all other lake monsters do. And I'm just wondering what it does when the lake is covered with 3 feet of ice. What does it do while it's underneath all of that ice and it can't get out? My thinking is that it does reverse ice fishing. It drills a hole up and through it and hopes that ice fishermen fall into the hole so he gets something to eat. Or possibly it sneaks out before the water freezes and goes south for the winter. Maybe you run into it in Florida, John, next time you're down there.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
We'll keep an eye open for that. Boy, that could be scary stuff.
There you go. Okay, so if you're living in England, you know we're an all-purpose. We offer all kinds of services at What in the World. One of them is jobs. So if you live in England, this job is now closed, but it could be open again soon. So Michael Barney is his nickname. Chandler. Barney Chandler is the new Raven Master of the Tower of London. John, we may have talked about this on the show before. The Raven Master is responsible for making sure that there are at least 6 ravens at all times in the Tower of London, because there's an old legend that if there's ever less than 6 ravens in the Tower of London, England will fall. So pretty important job, I would say.
Yeah, I don't really recall that, but I didn't know the number of ravens that had to be in the tower. But we did have a note about this in one of our earlier shows as well. I remember now. But yeah.
So yeah, they had more. They actually they had a 7th one that was given to King Charles by President Biden, but the raven kept biting the Raven Master, so they had to get rid of it. But President Biden, all of his pets, they all bite people. So they're spoiled. They're the Tower of London ravens. They can get away with whatever they want to do. They poop on everything. And they're allowed to. Although another one pooped on the Queen. And you know what happened? Oh, John, you know what happened? As the Pope, as Edgar Allan Poe said, that raven was never more.
Oh.
So you can see this guy has a lovely uniform on. I think I have another photo of him. There he is feeding the ravens. I'm sure
big birds. They are large birds, and they have to be reckoned with. I think the raven is.
Oh, look at the size of the beak. The beak is the size of his index finger.
Right.
I put my hand that close to, and they're like crows on steroids. They're just massive black birds. So how do you get the job? How do you get a job like this? This guy, I think, I think he was a scarecrow for a while. That was his. Actually, no. He was in the Marines. He was in the Royal Marines for 24 years, and he said that he studied birds while he was in the Marines. It sounds like he was goofing off to me. So this group that he belongs to, they provide security to the tower, to the people in the tower. They lead tours and they perform other ceremonial duties. But he's the only one who's the Raven Master, and he gets to wear the fancy hat and all that stuff. I thought this was interesting. We're talking about raven. Ravens have the intelligence of a 7-year-old human being, which means that any of these ravens could fill in for members of the royal family if that were needed.
Oh.
Now I can't go to England anymore
No,
after saying
I don't think so.
You're on some shaky ground there, my friend.
Better believe it. That's right. Yeah, that's our motto. That's our other motto at What in the World. We're on shaky ground. Okay, my favorite story of the week. This is our burger story. So Donald Gorski. We have talked about him on the show before. I know you won't remember his name, but you remember him for this. Last year, this is why he's in the news. Last year he ate 108 Big Macs. That's 2 per day in 2023, which extended his world record for the most Big Mac burgers eaten in a lifetime to, get ready for this, 34,128 Big Macs in his lifetime. He started eating them on May 17th, 1972, shortly after McDonald's came out with the Big Mac. And he can verify his record because, get a load of this, he has saved every wrapper, every container, and for every Big Mac he has ever eaten. So if the Guinness people love this guy because they don't have to do any work. They just go into his man cave or wherever he keeps this and just counted all the little pieces of paper there. So he's happily married. He says he's happily married, but he still dreams every night of a menage a trois with a couple of beefy girls named Patty.
Paul, where's your horn for that one? That deserves a horn.
He's retired. He's a retired prison guard. I thought this was great. The inmates never messed with him because he was farting all the time from all these Big Macs. Nobody wanted to get near
I
him.
imagine that was true. Yes.
Now, take a look at him. For those of you who are on YouTube, I'll describe him. He's in good shape. You would think that he would be bloated and sickly and full of pimples and God only knows what else from eating 34,000 Big Macs. But he looks like he's in pretty good shape. He says he stays in shape, but because he does not eat French fries, he only eats because he says French fries are unhealthy, but the Big Macs are okay.
Oh boy.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, he buys them a week's worth at a time. So he used to go every day. He said when he was working, he used to go to his local McDonald's where he's a hero. There's a plaque, there's a picture of him there. But now he goes once a week and he buys 14 or however many he wants. So he keeps the record. And then he microwaves them each day. Yeah, I know. They should just give him his own aisle in the drive-through and let him go. They should deliver.
Exactly.
Yes, well, right. I think that would make sense. Oh my gosh.
And that's all he eats. He says he skips breakfast, and the only other food he eats is a small evening snack like ice cream, a fruit bar, or potato chips. So that's his diet: 2 Big Macs, ice cream, fruit bars, or potato chips. They should donate it. He should donate his body to science. They're gonna open him up and they'll find that right in the middle of him is another bun, just like a Big Mac. At the top, there's a bottom, and there's a bun right where his navel should be.
Amazing.
Yeah. So he said he's married. In fact, his love for McDonald's is the reason why he was married. He proposed to his wife, Mary, in the parking lot. Apparently he dropped his bag and she came running over and picked it up for him. And it was love at first bite, so they say.
Oh my God. Wow.
Now, anyways, okay, so there's our burger story of the day. But I've got another food story, as always. We would like to group our food stories together. It's another popular story on Facebook. Big controversial day today. Facebook was down most of the morning. So hopefully all of you are recovered. So a man making his morning donut run to Dunkin' Donuts. This is in New Hampshire. He took a turn too hard while he pulled into the drive-thru, and this is what happened to him. He ended up in the Dunkin' drive-thru with his car on its side on the driver's side. So he couldn't open the door to get out. Now, I've seen this happen in Cleveland, believe it or not, usually on Fat Tuesday. People go up to their favorite store to buy punchkis, which are these mega massive jelly donuts, and they buy a couple dozen of these punchkis, and as soon as they get handed them through the window, their car tips over. So I've learned I always bring my lovely wife with me so that there's weight on the other side to counterbalance when you put all the punchkis in the car. He didn't do that, obviously. Took the police an hour to remove him from the car and to flip it back over and tow it away. Then it took another hour just to quell the riot of all the people behind him who had been waiting all that time for their donut. Because they're not going to go someplace else. They want their Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' people want their Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. He's gonna sue. I think I have another photo here. This is so here's the photo from the rear, so you can see. Somebody asked me if it was actually a cop car, and I thought that'd be even funnier, but it wasn't. It was just a normal person. So he's gonna sue Dunkin' Donuts because he says it looked to him like the driveway was glazed in front of the.
Yeah, eat the horn on that one.
Good luck on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, the Dunkin' people are trying to appease him. They offered to repair the car and throw in an airbag shaped like a jelly donut. But he's gonna sue him anyways. He's gonna sue him anyways. All right. So now we go to Wales, from New Hampshire to Wales. Craig Evans in Wales now holds the Guinness World Record. This is our tattoo story of the week. He holds the Guinness World Record for the most tattoos on a male person. He has rabbit tattoos on a male person. He has 69 individual rabbit tattoos all over his body. There's a picture of his body. We'll go back to a picture of his tattoos there for a little while here. He spent over $12,000 since 2009, which is when he started doing this, getting bunny tattoos all over his body. The only time the bunny tattoos ever caused him a problem, he said, was when he met a man at a bar who had 70 Elmer Fudd tattoos. That those don't go together very well. So it turns out he has a Bugs Bunny tattoo. He has a Roger Rabbit tattoo. He has Thumper from Bambi. He's got a Thumper tattoo somewhere on him. He started collecting them when he was much younger than he is now. Once he used up all the cartoon characters, then he started doing art, rabbit art. I didn't know there was such a thing as rabbit art, but apparently artworks featuring rabbits, and he's got those tattooed all over his body. He tried to date a Playboy bunny once. He thought, I'll get lucky.
Didn't think that would go over so well.
Well, you know what she said to him? She says, "I never take my work home with me." So
good.
That was it.
Good comeback.
Oh
then.
yeah. So I'm going to assume looking at him. Let's take a look at him once more. I'm going to assume he's not married. Women are afraid. If he likes, if he likes rabbits that much, he's going to want hundreds of kids, and I don't think that.
Oh my.
So all right. So I dropped a hint to John that we've got a couple of Bigfoot stories here, and we sure do. We've got some very interesting and unusual angles to the standard Bigfoot story. So the first one comes from England, not a hotbed of Bigfoot stories you would think, but it turns out one particular area, Devon, over on the southwestern side of England, has had a number of Bigfoot sightings over the many years that people have been watching for Bigfoot, and that's where this first story comes from. So it's a coastal county. I think that's what they call them in England. And there's no cheese rolling involved, John. I
was wondering about that, Paul and Karen.
Yeah. Usually, that's what I was thinking. Maybe this is a big cheese rolling area, and Bigfoot goes there to grab a stray cheese roll. But no, that's not it. And he doesn't go fishing. But so a group of hikers in Devon, they belong to the Rock Solid Coast Earring hiking group. There's all those paths all over the place in England where you can go walking in the beautiful hills. So they're walking when they stumbled upon a footprint. Let's take a look at that footprint here. Okay, so here's the Bigfoot footprint that they found. They said they stumbled upon it. They believe that it belongs to a Bigfoot. It was found near Maidencombe on the Torquay coastal path. So they were right on the very edge of the water and the land. And they said that although part of the path, most of the path was muddy, there were a line of footprints that emerged from the woods in Watcombe. So that was near where they were. So they could see a line of footprints, and they followed them along this coastal path for about 20 meters, or that would be 40, let me think, 1.6, not quite, 36 feet. So they followed the footprints for quite a while before the trail of footprints went back into the woods. Now, the group that discovered the prints said that they were all weirded out. And
go figure that.
Go figure, right? I know. So the one person said the prints were big. I'm a size 11, and they were half as big again. So, half as big again as a size 11. Clearly, again, a quote, a bare foot. Every print was perfect, like the one in the photo. So I'm weirded out for one particular reason, and that is, if there was that many footprints, why did they only take a picture of one? That's
You know,
Good.
that's
God.
it's a
wow.
it's a central theme here. You know, there are so many of these photos that we receive that we're trying to give credibility to and believe, but there's only one. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to appreciate it, if you will. That's what I'll say.
Well, that's why I wanted to show you this one, Jack, because that's the worst part of it. Normally our photos will have one footprint, and John will inevitably say, where's the rest of them? And we'll joke about it. Well, the Bigfoot was hopping on one foot to throw them off the path, or rain washed through and they washed all of them away except one.
Right.
But this is they clearly stated in the article that I read, that the interview, that there was a line of footprint, and yet they only took a photo of one, which calls their testimony into question, I would say.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Sadly. And I can imagine them being weirded out seeing a giant barefoot, but I don't know. So this is a good area for Bigfoot hunting, by the way, if you want to go looking for Bigfoot. In 2005, 2006, right near here, there was a report. Multiple people saw a large creature running through this area. For over a 6-week period. They had over 15 different reports over 6 weeks of people claiming they saw Bigfoot, an ape-like creature about 5 feet tall. So not your standard 7-foot Bigfoot, but 5 feet tall, brown hair covering his body. But get a load of this, John, and everybody out there who's a Bigfoot fan. It had no tail, okay, which is legit, and a green face. A green-faced Bigfoot.
Wow.
I don't know. Yeah, Bigfoot mating with the Grinch, maybe.
That is
how would
Paul and Karen,
that,
that's a wrinkle. The green
Yeah.
face. Now,
yeah.
lends me to think they couldn't have come up with a photo of the green face.
It was 2006, John.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, a green face. How would Bigfoot get a green face? Because you never see, unless it eats salad. It's a vegan. Maybe it was eating some lime ice cream or mint chocolate
That's
chip.
that possibility, right?
So now, then it gets even weirder. On 2 occasions, the 2 witnesses said that they saw it swinging from tree branch to tree branch with tremendous agility. That's a quote, tremendous agility. Now, we never hear about Bigfoots hanging from trees, swinging from trees, anything like that, especially in North America. North American Bigfoot just aren't that agile. I believe the reason why you never see Bigfoot in a tree is because they're afraid of squirrels. That's my theory. But I don't know.
That's plausible, Paul. That's plausible.
Possible. Okay, I know. All right. There was also one other sighting in Devon in 2022 when there were reports of a Littlefoot. So it keeps shrinking. First it's 5 feet. Now they have a Littlefoot. John Downs, who I've quoted him many times on Mysterious Universe, the director of North Devon Center for Fortean Zoology. That means he looks for monsters. He said he had similar reports of Littlefoot in this Devonshire woodlands, and he said so they've had these reports of little Bigfoot all over the place, which I thought Littlefoot is such a British term. Like the little bloke, the little hairy bloke, they would call him, or pints. So anyway, so there's our first Bigfoot story. Now let's get to the second one here. This one comes from somewhere in the United States. The guy didn't give his last name. I watched the video of the interview of him. He would not say where all of this happened. And once I explain it, maybe you can figure out why. I don't know. So listen in. So he identified himself as Dan. He sent a video to the Smoky Sasquatch Stories and Survival YouTube channel, which is where I watched it. So you can go there and look it up. He says, I couldn't see anything. He was walking on his property, heavily wooded property. He says, I couldn't see anything, but he heard some knocking. Um, so he's walking closer and closer to the noise. He says he wouldn't think too much about a noise coming from the woods, but this sounded like somebody chopping with an axe, and that obviously it's his woods, so he was concerned about that. But he said as he got closer, it sounded too loud. The whacking was too loud to be an axe, and he started to think that it sounded like like a tree branch being smacked against the trunk of a tree, which is how allegedly Bigfoot does their knocking sound. So then he says, I got really concerned. What the heck could this be? So he let me give you a photo here so we can. Oh, so here this is an incredible simulation of what happened next. So there's a giant Bigfoot wrestling with a guy in his shorts.
Oh my God.
Obviously artificial intelligence, but this was part of the interview. I thought this was very, very cool. This was part of the interview that they did. So let's move on to here. Okay, so here's the area of his property. This is a photo of the area. So as he's walking, he's using his cell phone to take pictures. So he's holding it and he's recording. And he says that as he started recording, he claims something flew from the side of the photo and smashed him in the head. And he happened to catch the thing flying. Now, here's a photo. For those of you who can't see it, I'll describe it. It's the same woods that he's in. And he conveniently put an arrow up in the upper right-hand corner. And there's an object coming into his field of vision. Now, in the video, it moved very quickly. In a blink of an eye, this thing came in. Yeah, and then the phone fell to the ground and stopped working. Okay, so he described what happened next. Whatever it was that was thrown at him, this thing hit him in the head and knocked him out. So, and he said, and they play the audio, and you can hear there's like a roaring sound in the background. So if it's fake, it's very well done. So you see this thing come into the view. You see the phone fall down, you hear the roaring sound, and then nothing. What happened to poor Dan? Well, he's knocked out on the ground. So his wife comes looking for him because she can't find him. She finds him unconscious. She calls 911. The ambulance comes out. They revive him. They took him to the hospital. Here he is in the hospital. There he is. So that's what he looked like. Yeah, that's what he looked like after getting hit in the head by something which he thinks was thrown by Bigfoot. So he says, something was hurled at my head almost immediately after I pressed record. It knocked me out. I think it was a rock. Next thing I know, I'm in the hospital. Apparently, I was out there for way too long. My wife came looking for me. When she saw me unconscious with blood coming from my skull, she called an ambulance. So I don't recall us ever talking about anyone who was physically accosted by Bigfoot to the point where they had to be taken to a hospital. I don't know if you remember.
No, I do not, Paul and Karen, at all. This is the first time of an actual physical altercation that appears. Yeah. Wow.
I would say, and we're skeptical on this show. If this guy was trying to pull a hoax, he did a pretty good job. He comes he comes to the hospital. He has a wound that looks an awful lot like someone hit him in the head with a rock. I don't know. I know some Bigfoot people, and maybe one of them might whack themselves in the head with a rock to fake something like this, but most of them wouldn't. So I think that something happened to this guy. Something happened to him. He recorded something on his phone, and that's pretty much all we can say. Go to the site yourself, and you can watch the video. It's the what did I say? It was the Smoky Sasquatch Stories and Survival channel on YouTube. I'll probably have a link. If you go to mysteriousuniverse.org on Friday, I'll have a link put up there as well, so you can click on that. John, any parting comments on this poor guy?
No, I'm sorry that he got injured, and I hope he recovers. And as I said earlier, I think this is the first known information I've gained about an actual Sasquatch or Bigfoot attacking someone. That's
Yeah,
serious. Serious.
yeah, no kidding. No kidding. All right. Okay. Well, and then we will end the news segment of What in the World on that note. And I'll take poor Dan down here so we don't have to look at him. Um, There we go. And that means it's time for What in the World of Sports with John Donalo. So every week I ask my old buddy John, those of you who are regular listeners know John and I went to college together. We're fraternity brothers. Uh, I've always admired John's knowledge of sports and trivia. So that's one of the reasons why he's a great addition to What in the World. Every week I challenge him to come up with a sport that fits our theme of real news, sometimes strange, always funny. And he inevitably comes up with another one. He keeps saying we're going to run out of sports, and yet week after week after week, another strange sport. This week is no exception. John, what do you got for us?
Well, Paul, thanks for the big intro. And let me tell you here. So our sport this week continues in a long line of unusual and very unique sports on What in the World. Now, I'm going to make an educated guess that no one in our viewing or listening audience has ever heard of this sport. And the name of this sport is Frisian handball.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, okay. It looks like I'm in the clear then. Looks like I'm presenting accurate information to everyone here. So, for those of you interested, Frisian handball is a traditional Frisian sport. And what I mean by Frisian sport, it is a sport that has to be played by people that live in a certain region of the Netherlands. And the people that are participating in this sport, they live in the northern Dutch province of Friesland. Now, it is believed to be one of the oldest ball games played in Europe and was actually an unofficial demonstration sport back in the 1928 Summer Olympics that were held in Amsterdam. The major Frisian ball tournament.
Photo here.
Yes.
For a second, John. This from those
Yes.
Olympics, that particular black and white photo of a guy playing. You don't see the ball, you see his hands. So we know he's got at least half.
Yes.
Go
on. That is correct, Paul. So the major Frisian handball tournament, which is called the PC or Permanent Committee, not sure why that is, but it's been held in the city of Frankener since 1854 each year. And
wow.
And for the record, it is considered and recognized as the oldest regular sports tournament in the world.
Wow.
What about that, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah.
Now, Frisian handball is related to both American handball and the sport which is called fives or hand tennis, and the scoring is similar to tennis. It is played on a rectangular lawn of 10 meters by 32 meters, or 32 feet by 105 feet, which is called a katsbaan in the Dutch language. Katsbaan. Now, each team has 3 players and a defender on one side of the court. A hard leather ball must be served barehanded, but the receiving team can wear a single hard leather glove. Like tennis, if the ball is out of the receiving zone, the receiving team gets a score. If the receiving team hits the ball back over the short line between the serving box, or what is called the boppie in Dutch, then they get a score. And if neither happens, it is an undecided score, and the place where the ball remains is marked with a small woodblock, which is called a kats. And when 2 such undecided points occur, the teams change places. Let me continue with the rules. In the next rally, the team that then has the receiving position tries to hit the ball past the first cots, and if any, the next rally past the second cots, so deciding the undecided points. after which the players start all over again. Now, let me ask you a very direct question. If you're not confused, I know that I am, but those are the rules of the game. Now, on what in
But
the
I
world?
was I'm even looking at the photos, and I'm trying to look at the photos and follow along here, and it does sound confusing for a sport that's only three players on each side, but yet you said it's similar to tennis, but other than the fact that it's played on grass, I don't know. I had a hard time following that too, but it looks like fun. Looks like they're having a good time doing it.
Yes, Paul and Karen and audience. I think the people have fun, and it's been played since 1854. You know, why would you
Yeah,
continue
wow.
the sport if it was not fun? But at any rate, I also want to make sure that we understand the value of What in the World. And on What in the World, our podcast here, we are not limited to learning about unique and unusual sports. We
Boy,
also
that's right.
geography. Let me explain. So the Dutch immigrants that settled in the Hudson River area in the 1600s of New York, they named the fields where the indigenous people played their ball games. They named that area Katzbahn. And the name eventually survived to Kotzebue, New York. The creek
Wow.
that runs past Kotzebue into the Hudson River was named by the Dutch Ketzerkill. Now, kill is an old Dutch word for creek, and the creek's name then transferred to the large mountain range which it springs from, and it's the Catskill Mountains.
Oh,
Origin there. When you see the Catskills, you know of the Dutch connection there. And
okay.
yeah, now as we can see, the Dutch had a major impact on world sports and on names in the United States. We're just glad they didn't also make us wear wooden shoes.
Boy, that's for sure. That's for sure. Holy smoke. So that's where the Catskills name came from. I've been a writer for a long time, and I've done stories about that area of the country, and I knew that kill meant creek. Because I tried to use it for a joke, and everybody said, "Well, no, it makes perfect sense. A kill's a creek." I thought, really, a kill's a creek? But now,
Oh
now
my
you
Lord.
pull all this together and you throw the Catskills into it, and then bring the sport into it as well. Wow. I wonder, it's got to be a sport that I'm sure there's some Dutch people left in this Catskills that probably play
Oh, you would
this.
think so. I mean, you would definitely
Yeah.
think so in that area. Sure, sure, sure.
Wow. Interesting sport. I especially like the part where they move wherever the ball lands, they put a piece of wood over there. What? Okay, what confusing to say the least, but a very interesting sport. Now, you would think that outside of the Catskill Mountain, the New York area, that this sport would not be played in the United States. And yet, John, I don't know if you remember this, but back when we were in college, there was a fraternity that had they must have had some members from New York, and they challenged us to a game of this freeze bond handball, whatever.
I don't remember, Paul. You have to help remind me on this one.
Okay, all right. So they explained the game to us, and we thought, oh, we can, yeah, we can handle this sport. We're macho college guys. We play volleyball and basketball and football. We can certainly play some weeny little handball game. So what we didn't count on is that they had a couple of ringers in the fraternity that they hadn't told us about. So we show up to play this handball game. So they bring out their first ringer, and it's this guy. He's got
God.
hands.
Gosh.
Yeah, his hands are the size of fruit baskets, I guess. I don't know what that could be.
Wow.
So yeah, so they so I was the guy who was supposed to guard them, and we thought, oh yeah, we'll still beat them. So then they bring out this other guy here.
Oh
Look at
my
the hands
goodness. Oh,
on. You can't play handball against people with hands the size of small cars.
Yeah.
So
They wanted to forget about that. Now I remember that whole sport, and that's why I have selective amnesia on that. It brought back now a tough memory for me. How are we going to compete against these people? Oh, boy.
so I think we conceded. We challenged them to a drinking game. We won that, obviously. We always won the drinking game.
Yes, we did.
And everybody had a good time. So there you go. A little bit of trivia from John Carroll University, and a great sport from John Donalo, as always. Thanks again, John.
You're very
Thank
welcome,
you.
Paul and Karen and audience. Thank you.
All right. So the end of sports means that it's time for Bluff the Co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. Rules of Bluff the Co-host are simple. I have 3 stories similar to the ones we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference. All of those were real. Stories and Bluff the Co-host may be real, may be a bluff. It's up to Karen, John, and all of you playing at home to decide. Wagering is allowed, so place your bets. John and Karen, put your hands on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number 1. If you want to lose weight, but you don't like to exercise or diet, a plumbing company in England is selling shower upgrades as the latest thing in weight loss programs, after a new British study found that taking a 15-minute freezing cold shower causes you to shiver so much that you burn off up to 355 calories. While the results vary from person to person, on average, a cold shower with water temperature around 66 degrees Fahrenheit will raise your metabolic rate as much as 15%, and combined with shivering will burn more calories than an hour of exercise. The plumbing company, while citing the study, does not guarantee the weight loss and recommends that you install an extra bar in the shower so you don't fall over while shivering. Okay, so plumbing company selling cold showers as a way to lose weight without exercising. Real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
You know, we all have these gimmicks how we can lose weight. So I'm going to believe this is yet another gimmick. You did a great job putting this story together. So I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Oh, it's a bluff. Okay, John, how about you?
Well, I'm going to disagree on this. I'm going to say that it's real. I mean, everyone knows about the value of the cold tubs and people going into cold water and what have you, and how it improves your health. Now, I don't know if it helps lose weight, but I'm going to say that I could see this happening, and I think it's real.
Okay, so John says it's real. Karen says it's a bluff. John, would you do it if it is real?
Absolutely not. There is no way that. Absolutely not. I mean, I can always stand to lose weight, but not at the expense of that.
Yeah.
Cold shower,
Okay.
not for me.
All right. Karen said it's a bluff. John said it's real. We check with the judges, and the judges say, congratulations, John. That is a real story. And a real plumbing company that's actually taking advantage of it. That's the part that I couldn't believe. Clever marketing, I guess. Well, you know, it's England. So, all right.
Right? Can't argue with the results. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. All right. So the score is 1-0. John is in the lead. Oh, John's all excited. I can tell. Let's, but Karen can come back real easily. Let's get right to story number 2. If you're not convinced that Italians are protective of their pizzas, this should do it. The Italian Department of Food and Agriculture has sent a cease and desist order to the Danish government after photos began appearing on Facebook of pizzas being served in Denmark with sliced kiwi fruit as a topping. While the Italian FDA has tolerated many unusual toppings like pineapple and fried maggots, kiwi has pushed it over the edge. The FDA wants the Danish government to force pizza shops in Denmark to call kiwi on a pizza a Danish pastry or risk violating the Italian government's copyrighted definition of pizza. Other countries allowing strange pizza toppings are watching this case very carefully. Okay, so the Italian government sees kiwi on pizzas in Denmark and said, that's the last straw. If you put kiwis on it, you cannot call it pizza. It must be a Danish pastry. Real or bluff? John, we'll start with you.
I have an Italian background, obviously, and I'm a big fan of pizza, but I think the Italian government's overstepping their boundary on this. I mean, who are they to dictate like what goes on pizza in the country of the Denmark? I mean, come on now. Enough's enough. No, I'm gonna hope that this is a bluff. I'm hoping it's a bluff.
Okay, John hopes it's a bluff. Karen, how about you?
I totally agree. Don't tell me what I can put on my pizza and call it a pizza.
Before I give you the answer, both of you say it's a bluff. Would you eat kiwi pizza?
I don't like kiwi.
Don't like kiwi. John?
I like kiwi fruit, but I would never put it on pizza. Never.
Traditional. Okay. All right. So both of you say it's a bluff. We check with the judges. The judges say congratulations to both of you. That is a bluff.
Oh, way to go, Karen. Very good. Okay, very good. Very good.
Yeah, either. Okay. All right. So that means the score is 2-1. John is in the lead, but points are doubled in round number 3. So Karen could still pull a victory away from the jaws of defeat with a correct answer here. Let's get right to story number 3. A veterinarian in Georgia was looking for an inexpensive place to move his clinic after his landlord raised the rent. And the only thing available in his price range was a vacant Hooters restaurant. So he took it and changed the name to Neuters. Sure, that's offensive to dogs and cats, but he figured they can't read the sign. Well, the name makes it clear to owners what is now occupying the space. To save money, he spelled the word neuters, Nooters, and only had to replace the H on the sign out front and on some wall signs inside. The vet says business is booming since he moved and changed the name and is actually considering setting up Neuters veterinary clinics as franchises around the country. All right, so the vet in Georgia who takes over an old Hooters turns it into Neuters and business is booming. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
Wow. I'm going to go with bluffs.
Okay.
You've done a really good job this week, so I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Thank you. Karen says it's a bluff. Okay. John, how about you?
Well, here's what I think. I think this is a strange enough story for it to be true. So I'm going to say it's not a bluff. Because it's so it's so strange.
Bluff that it's true. Is that correct?
Correct, because it's so weird.
So weird it must be true. That's one of the reigning philosophies on Bluff the Co-host. John says so weird it must be true. Karen says no, it's obviously a bluff. Let's check with the judges. Boy, oh boy, guess what happened? Karen has pulled it out. Karen, you're right. That is a bluff.
All right, Karen.
Whoa!
Very good. Okay.
Oh, the lead and wins the Bluff the Co-host for this week. Sorry about that, John. Boy, it was close right to the very end.
Well, you know what that means. Back to the drawing board. Doing a lot of studying this week with Annette, so I'm going to have to do that. But congratulations, Karen.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well-earned victory. Yeah.
It was a true Super Tuesday for me.
Oh, very
There you
good.
go. Oh, very good. Very good. An exciting game. We don't know. The games aren't always that exciting. This one is right up to the very end. Great. All right. Well, congratulations to Karen for winning Bluff the Co-host. And good opportunity to thank her for everything that she does for us at what's the name of the show again? What in the world? She provides us with a platform at newclevelandradio.net. She is our co-host and offers some great commentary. She is also our sponsor with something by Karen. Coaching with Karen. Well, yes, I can.
Yes, I can. Coaching with Karen.
Since I can't coaching with Karen, next week I'm going to have to go to rehearsal. I know.
Right.
No more sleep until right before the show. Go to rehearsal. So thank you again, Karen, for everything you do. Go to newclevelandradio.net. Check out all the great podcasts that she had, in addition to What in the World. She even has a little video. I'll put it up on Facebook of all the different podcasts that she had, just so you can see wide variety of podcasts. You just nowhere else do you find such a variety of podcasts. And then, as always, I know he's depressed from losing, but even so, I want to thank my good buddy John Dinallo for everything you do, color commentary, host of What in the World of Sports, all around great guy. John, thanks again for being here.
Thank you. Paul. You know what? It's just like sports, though. So I lost today, but then there's always next week. So there's always another game. There's always another chance to redeem yourself. So that's what I'm hoping to do. And congratulations, Karen.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Spring training, that's right. It's spring training. It's start fresh next week. And of course, as always, and last and certainly not least, I want to thank everybody out there for listening to the show, listening, watching, however you tune into What in the World. You're the reason why we do this every week. We hope you have as much fun listening to the show, playing bluff the co-hosts, all of that, as we do putting it on. And we certainly do have a good time putting it on. So on that note, thank you again for tuning in. We are still on regular schedule next week, although it will be Eastern Daylight Time, not Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully all of you will spring forward and on Sunday and Saturday night and catch us at the right time. If not, just don't worry. You can. It's a podcast. You can listen to it anytime.
That is very true.
There you go. I think